Maine Secretary of State has made her decision. Shenna Bellows announcing last night that Mr. Trump is constitutionally ineligible to appear on the state's primary ballot, citing his alleged role in the January 6th Capitol riots. This is the first time an election official has independently taken action on the issue. Secretary Bellows, thank you for joining us. You've certainly had a busy 24 hours since this decision came down. I want to back up for folks who might just be joining us. Was there anything that appeared in the hearing about 2 weeks ago where you looked at evidence that stood out that specifically landed you in this position to make this decision?
My sole obligation is to the Constitution and the rule of law, and my decision was based exclusively on the facts and the evidence presented at the hearing. There were exhibits, including reports, the January 6th report from the House, a bipartisan Senate report, Defense Department report, the GAO report, and then exhibits and testimony provided by a witness, Professor Maglioka, about the nature of insurrection, the 14th Amendment. And I reviewed all of the exhibits and the testimony, the arguments made by Mr. Trump and his counsel, as well as the challengers. And keep in mind, I did not make this decision to enter into this process myself. This was brought by challengers, 5 registered Maine voters who challenged the qualifications of Mr. Trump's candidacy. What I found, and remember, the events of January 6th were unprecedented and tragic. And the evidence demonstrated not only was the attack on the Capitol, on the former vice president, on government officials, but it was also on the peaceful transfer of power and the rule of law. And it was at the behest of and the knowledge and support of the outgoing president, Mr. Trump.
And that's where you landed looking at the evidence from that?
I landed on 2 conclusions. That January 6th was in fact an insurrection under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, and that Mr. Trump engaged in insurrection under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment.
So we want to take some time to kind of break down what Section 3 of the 14th Amendment is. It's known as the Insurrection Clause. Here's what it looks like right now. It says, no person shall be a senator or representative in Congress or elector of president and vice president or hold any office, civil or military, under the United States or under any state, who, having previously taken an oath as a member of Congress or as an officer of the United States or as a member of any state legislature or as an executive or judicial officer of any state to support the Constitution of the United States, shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same or given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof. But Congress may be a vote of 2/3 of each house remove such disability. So that's the language of it. It's something that has not been used a lot. When it has been used, it was awfully out of the Civil War. So this is not something new. This is not something that was created around this time. With the significance of the ruling and obviously getting a lot of attention around the country, you've been basically on a media tour since the news came out. I want to break down some of the responses we've seen from our representatives. Just this afternoon, Senator Angus King releasing a statement reacting to the ruling. And while Senator King said he voted to impeach Donald Trump following the Capitol riots, he also said, quote, I believe the decision as to whether or not Mr. Trump should again be considered for presidency should rest with the people as expressed in free and fair elections. So 2 out of 3 of our representatives are not happy with the decision, and certainly a lot of voters are as well. What is your message today to voters and on our representatives who say, that's the guy I wanted to vote for, and you, because your name is on this, decided to remove that?
I appreciated one aspect of Senator King's statement, and that is he recognized that I was required to do this under Maine law. He said that explicitly in his statement. And I think that's important for people to understand that this is a process. I'm required to ensure that every candidate placed on the primary ballot for every office holds the qualifications of the office they seek. That is in Maine election law. And I do this every election season. It is uncommon, perhaps, to have a Section 336 challenge. It is certainly unprecedented for there to be a challenge under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. But I am bound by the United States Constitution and all of the requirements of the Constitution. It's not a menu. I must, in fact, look at not just the age of the candidates, the residency, the citizenship status, whether they have served 2 terms of office before, but also Section 3 of the 14th Amendment.
All those criteria. Finally, looking forward, When we talk about next steps, you've put this on pause until the courts can weigh in. The Trump campaign certainly says they plan to appeal. What kind of timeline are you up against? Because time is moving quickly with what needs to happen next.
So under Maine law, I was required to make the decision as quickly as I did. I could not wait for the United States Supreme Court. The Superior Court, should the Trump campaign appeal, which it likely will, has until January 17th to issue a decision under Maine law.
And that obviously impacts ballots. For us, our primary is March 5th. You need them done much earlier than that.
That's right. So our military and overseas voters, sometimes called Yokava voters, they are eligible to receive their ballot 45 days prior to the presidential primary. That date falls on January 20th.
So that's when we need that answer by. Secretary Bellows, we know you've been very busy. We appreciate you joining us.
Thank you so much.
And again, my conversation from just a few moments ago with Secretary Bellows. We will be sure to follow all the developments in the coming weeks. You can follow along as well. You can download our News Center Maine app. There you can read and watch all of the stories we'll be following after yesterday's announcement. It is free wherever you get your apps. Be sure to sign up for alerts when you get that as well.